Auzubillahiminashaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to World This Morning. I am your host Hajra Satti and joining me is my wonderful co-host Fahim Bangesh. Assalamu alaikum Fahim. How are you doing today?
Walaikum assalam and a very good morning to you Hajra and to everyone who's watching us right now. It's a beautiful morning and of course we know good things are coming to Pakistan's way and to our way. Eventually, obviously, they say every dark cloud has a shiny ray of sunshine and an outline. So definitely we're looking forward to that in each and everyone's lives and in the life of Pakistan as well, because they say each and every one of us is fighting a battle and we just have different ways of responding to it. But yeah, so even Pakistan is fighting an economic thing right now, a crunch right now, but there is a silver lining there. And as far as the silver lining is concerned, we also know, Hajra, as we all know, the Prime Minister Kakar has gone to China, and that's a brilliant thing that he's done, a brilliant step that he's taken, because obviously the condition that Pakistan is in right now, I think these steps need to be taken, more collaborations need to be done, more dialogue needs to be done. Pakistan needs to engage more with more and more countries, and this is basically a two-day trip that he's taken, a two-day official visit that he's taken, and this has been done on the invitation of the Chinese Premier.
That's true, and since you've already alluded to Prime Minister's maiden visit to China, attending the BRI conference, and CPEC is the flagship project of that. So why not we take a look at the top stories, which is of course about Chinese President Xi Jinping said his signature Belt and Road initiative was meant to give impetus to global economy and connectivity through the revival of Old Silk Route. Giving his keynote address of the third BRI forum, he made it clear that the revival of Old Silk Route does not mean colonization of other countries by conquering their territories, but by promoting their economy and infrastructure through mutual cooperation and integration. The Chinese president said his country will work with all parties involved to deepen Belt and Road partnerships of cooperation and usher this cooperation into new stage of high quality development. He said, "We will make relentless efforts to achieve modernization for all the countries." President Xi vowed more financing support for BRI related projects on the basis of market and business cooperation. He said China Development Bank and Export-Import Bank of China will each set up a 350 billion yuan financing window, and an additional 80 billion yuan will be injected into the Silk Road Fund. And obviously, this is a big development, China financing the global needs, and the world obviously needs diversified source of income, especially considering the fact that the World Bank or the IMF, they have a very stringent conditions attached to their financing, their loans, and they're the product of the post-World War II period, right? And they reflect the realities of post-World War II Bretton Woods system, which needs to evolve considering the fact that now we are living in a very changed, very globalized, very interconnected world of 21st century, and the financing needs of the country, especially the global south, they have changed a lot, and obviously there's a lot of criticism that is leveled on the Bretton Woods system, which is about how they are squeezing the air out of the country, especially the global south, who need such sort of financing and at the same time cater to the needs of the people who are living in extreme destitute, in the poverty, and make sure that they are not throttled beneath the poverty line in the first place.
That's true, Hajra, and of course the winds need to change their direction now. It's about time, and the old systems need to change. You're very right, and you pointed a very pertinent point here, and people are being quite cynical about these old systems, and definitely they need to be questioned, they need to be criticized, of course, in a very progressive and proper manner. Also, as far as the caretaker Prime Minister is concerned, he reaffirmed that Pakistan's commitment to expanding bilateral cooperation with Russia in trade, investment, energy, connectivity, defense, intelligence sharing, and counterterrorism. Of course, that's quite pertinent to Pakistan. Also, caretaker Prime Minister held other meetings on the sidelines of the main forum. He expressed the commitment while talking to Russian President Vladimir Putin in Beijing. We have further details in the following report. Let's take a look at it.
Yes.
Pakistan Anwarul Haqqaqar met with President of Russia Vladimir Putin in Beijing, China. Prime Minister Anwarul Haqqaqar stated that Russia is the most important player of the region and he was looking forward to the meeting with the President Vladimir Putin of Russia. He emphasized that Pakistan and Russia have a convergence of interest on multiple issues including countering terrorism. Prime Minister Anwarul Haqqaqar highlighted the need to pursue regional approach to tackle issues.
The regional approach which emanates particularly from Afghanistan and in and around the areas which is traditionally more influenced by Russian Federation and the neighborhood in which we reside, along with the China, deserves a regional and common approach other than extra-regional powers.
Prime Minister Anwarul Haqqaqar also spoke fondly about his visit to Russia when he was a senator.
I fortunately had a chance to visit Third Rome, Moscow, when I was a senator. And I was mesmerized by the kind of the architecture, particularly the representation of the Eastern Orthodox Christianity, its churches.
Earlier, President Vladimir Putin of Russia spoke about the positive trajectory of relations between Russia and Pakistan.
Partnership between Russia and Pakistan is of traditionally friendly nature. This year, our state celebrated 75th anniversary of establishing diplomatic relations. But of course, the focus of our joint attention is the ensuring regional security and stability.
President Putin also highlighted the positive role played by Russia by ensuring food security of many countries because of its massive agricultural output. Raza Khan, PTV World.
Wow, and that's a wonderful initiative obviously taken by Prime Minister Kakar, and I think for him personally that in the world of multipolarity, Pakistan needs to have its representation in every camp. And China's Belt and Road Initiative, its flagship project of CPEC, which is hinged around connectivity, development and transportation, and obviously it is based on the reviving the old Silk Route, because through the Pakistan that Silk Route used to go there and towards the China, and it was related to the trade and development and all of these economic initiatives, and that is why it's very important that and Prime Minister himself is leading this initiative. That shows that the top leadership is involved in this entire project.
Also, adding to that, Hajra, we've seen how the Chinese premier has talked about the changing paradigm. As he said, not like the old times, nobody is going to colonize anyone. This is going to be a project of connectivity, a project of being united, a project of being one as far as the economic activities and economic progress is concerned. Now, we have with us today on the telephone line Dr. Colonel Talat Shabir, Director, ISSI China Center. Talat, welcome to PTV World and good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
So it's wonderful to have you here. So we know about the official visit of the Prime Minister Kakar. He's gone to China. This is a very important visit. Many heads of state from around the world are coming in. This is the BRF, the Belt and Road Forum, the third session. And according to the Chinese people, this is one of the biggest sessions as far as if we compare it to the first and second. Now, first of all, we'd like you to highlight the importance of it. And second of all, what could be the outcomes and advantages of this very important visit?
Thank you for having me over. I think this is a landmark visit of Prime Minister of Pakistan, and it is an important time at the moment. When speaking from international scenario perspective, we see that there's a huge development in Middle East, Hamas and Palestinians and Israeli conflict going on. So one that I think the world leaders getting together in Beijing are discussing how this world is shaping after the Ukraine-Russia conflict and after the Hamas and Israel conflict. Not the one. Second important point is that this visit is going to be very, very important for Pakistan, particularly with regard to CPEC, because there are a number of projects that in CPEC that need real push. And I think on sidelines and in the bilateral meeting between the leadership of two countries, these will be discussed. Important is that 130 countries are participating in this meeting, and 30 heads of very important global institutions are also participating in this. You see, this is a huge forum. And I think China, for now, has been able to communicate or signal that, where they want to take the vote. And by, participation, 130 heads of country participating, I think they have been able to succeed in giving a message that, look, I think the world order or how the world should move forward is the way that China also is suggesting to the world. So that is, I think, this forum, BRF, will have a lot of outcome for economic prosperity of the world, particularly the developing world, and I think a lot of connectivity issues will also be discussed and thought about, and Pakistan has a lot to gain from it.
Right, Dr. Saab. So we've seen that in the era of multipolarity, where there are so many poles emerging, and obviously one of the pole is led by the Western-based liberal economic order, which is dominated by the US. Another pole is led by the Chinese civilization, or the China, and BRI and CPEC are obviously a flagship project. It is obviously being led by the China. And the third pole is related to Russia, right? How Russia is leading the world. So do you think it's a fine foreign policy having our representation in every camps of the world, especially in the multipolar order, and aligning our interest with what our country deems, or what our country's interests are supreme in the first place?
Yeah. I think this debate of world order, it is getting intense in the scholarship around the world, particularly in the West. China in past 40, 50 years has proved that they're very flexible in getting into a kind of alignment with liberal economic order that West actually is persuading the world to follow. No, the rise of China and China's connectivity and China's business and trade in entire world, Chinese companies making mark in entire world is a significant evidence that China has actually merged into liberal economic order. But some scholars in West are, continuing to press on that, look, China is following some kind of communist ideology, and the order that China wishes to pursue has something to do with. I don't buy this idea, because China has been very, very flexible in its approach towards the global economy. So that is how China has succeeded to rise economically in such a quantum. Now, coming to Pakistan, I think politically and as well as economically, Pakistan is at the stage where Pakistan has to make choices. And choices should also be flexible. China is our friend, and we have friends in the Western world. I think there's a need to create a balance, a fine balance between all this, because we have to see issues from our perspective. We have to see global economy from our perspective, and we have to see what helps us to consolidate or develop on what we have in the moment. China is a great country. China has been contributing a lot. If you talk of past 10 years, China has made a huge investment in this country. China is open to making more ingress economically. China is open to support us in reviving our economy and help us do something that China is doing in their own country. So if economically, if we can pin hope, I think China in the order of priority comes first. And China, as always, China watcher and student of Chinese politics, I always believe that China has been pursuing a relationship of mutual trust and cooperation and friendship Whereas when we look at other powers in the world, their relationship with Pakistan has been some kind of transactional and demanding and arm twisting. So I think I don't at all persuade anyone to, not have good relations with other countries. I think Pakistan is at the moment stands at a crossroad where it has to decide that it has to keep a relationship with every country, particularly looking through the prism of economic development, connectivity, trade, business, and wealth creation. And people of Pakistan's interest of people of Pakistan should be at priority.
Right. So, Dr. Saab, we've seen that there's a lot of criticism which is being leveled at the Bretton Woods system, and obviously its subsidiaries are IMF and World Bank, and especially by the Global South, that how their stringent policies are contributing towards the poverty in the Global South instead of financing their needs. And China is obviously setting up the China Development Bank and Export-Import Bank of the China, and that will have a 350 billion yuan financing window, and it will finance the the Silk Road Fund, right? So do you think that China can sort of de-dollarize or set at the dominance that has been set up by the US, it can unshackle that, unnerve that in the first place?
I think, generally speaking, let's for your listeners, maybe most of us, we don't understand economy. Whatever we have at the moment is actually the consequence of Bretton Woods system that we followed for the last 7 decades. Now, when it is not working, and we see that it has not only created political problems in developing countries, it has not helped reduce poverty, and it has not helped, develop economies. So when we look at Chinese model, how China looks at things, now look at this BRI, look at the Global Development Initiative of China. Now these initiatives are actually focused on development in countries, in the partner countries, and they are aimed at, doing economic help to countries who actually need it. So, and at the same time, China is supportive of international financial institutions. Now, there's no, of course, there are certain debates going on in Western capitals and elsewhere, but China largely supports the existing international economic system and model. China wants to just plug in its own, institutions where it is required. But when look at the world, when China talks of a shared future, shared prosperity, common objectives, and prosperity for all the people, so that actually will, I think, in some times to come, China will have to follow some, kind of a hybrid mixed economic system that will work for the world. And China does not want to create a confrontational, environment with any of the institutions, global institutions or country. They are, I think, very peacefully chasing and following what they think is right for their country and the developing world.
You're right, Dr. Saab. You very rightly mentioned that, and while Hajra was mentioning that we have to look at the whole thing with a different lens, we have to look at Pakistan and China as separate entities. And of course, we also know that Prime Minister of Pakistan held a roundtable with the academicians, with the researchers, with MIT experts yesterday. Now, obviously, we also know that the CPEC is not just related to just infrastructure development. Of course, we have seen that happening in Pakistan, we've seen that happening in China, but we also need some more investments as far as the IT sector is concerned, because Pakistan has a huge potential when it comes to the youth bulge. When we talk about the population of Pakistan, we talk about a lot of talent, we talk about a lot of skills, which can be perhaps channelized into making Pakistan a prosperous country. And with the game changer like CPEC going on, what future do you see of the CPEC if we channelize our potential, the youth potential that we have in Pakistan? And if we look at it overall, the future of Pakistan, what do you foresee being an analyst and a specialist in the field?
Right. When I talked about the vision, I think the last 10 years, what I had an objection on was that we do not have a CPEC vision. For example, you mentioned about youth bulge. How are we going to cater the needs of youth remaining within the framework of CPEC, like IT, AI? These are the emerging fields, emerging technologies that you can make use of by and creating difference in terms of economic gains. Now, I think we need to have very clear policies, vision, and then followed by we should have clear strategies and approaches how we can achieve those visions. So China is a huge market for IT as well as AI. Pakistan has huge potential. I think we need to synchronize somewhere that what we want to do, what is our vision, and how with various approaches and strategies we can actually make use of all of it, remaining within the CPEC. CPEC is one thing. China is ready to extend any cooperation even outside framework of CPEC. In the past, it's just CPEC is just last 10 years, but China has been very cooperative and very helpful in trying to help Pakistan to sort out some of their big problems. And I think the coming era is of AI and IT. So we must focus on this, but we must have first clear vision and then followed by approaches and strategies how we can do that.
Right.
You should remember that the youth bulge is asset when they are equipped with skills.
True.
If they're not equipped with skills, they are liability. We must understand, and this liability is actually doubling every day because the larger population you have and larger youth you have. So you have to actually seriously think about it. Otherwise, this asset will become liability in times to come.
Right, Dr. Saab, please stay with us. We need to go on a short break. We'd love to continue our discussion further with you. But right now, we have to go for a short break. Stay tuned, everyone. Welcome back to World This Morning with Hajra Sati and Fahim Bangash. We were having quite an interesting discussion about CPEC. It has been going on since 10 years. And in the second segment, that's equally interesting. Well, Hajra, would you like to introduce?
Of course, and let's develop and continue further on this conversation regarding the Belt and Road Initiative and CPEC. So, Dr. Talat Saab, I hope you are here. We wanted to ask you about the human security paradigm that our state has rightly so shifted in the 21st century, and it is focusing on the security of the humans, right? So, in the traditional terms, in the traditional era, security meant focusing a lot on in the traditional sense, but now since it has evolved, security means investing on your people and making sure that they are happy. So, how does the human security paradigm fits into the CPEC and the Belt and Road Initiative? Your comments on this, please. Dr. Saab, can you hear us? Okay, so there has been some technical problems. We will try to reach him, but now let's talk about, since we are talking about the China, since we are talking about how the Belt and Road Initiative has been going on, and there also one development which is going on in the China, which is about the Asian Games that has been going on, and Pakistan has been making quite some strides in the Asian Games. So without any further ado, we would like to introduce our guest, who happens to be Asif Abbasi. He is the tennis coach. He is the first Pakistani wheelchair tennis player to break into the top 100 into the world. He's also winner of the multiple ITF International Wheelchair Tennis Tournament since 2017. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Wa alaikum assalam, and thanks for having me on your show. And everyone, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Now, Asif Saab, first of all, it's a pleasure having you here because obviously this is something that many people can take inspiration from. Many people who think that they cannot do many things because of something that is holding them that back, or something that the society thinks that, okay, you're supposed to be home and do nothing. But you, on the other hand, are not only physically active, you inspire others, you teach others, you coach others. And right now, you've landed yourself in China and you're participating there. This is something huge. So we would like you to give the message to the youngsters of Pakistan from you, obviously an inspirational message so that we can learn something out of this, because obviously in these difficult times that we're living in, at times we just give up hope, at times we give up on ourselves, and we just lose that ray of hope that perhaps is there somewhere and we just can't see it.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to give the message to the upcoming, or to the masses, or the people, that there is nothing can stop you. If you have bigger goals, if you have something in your life and you want to achieve it, you need to work harder, and then rely on your dedication, your devotion, and Allah's rahmat, that you can achieve your goals. But the first thing is never give up. This is the message, and this is the mentality we have to take with us to achieve our goals. Secondly, this is the first time in the history of Pakistan wheelchair tennis, that in 75 history, that wheelchair tennis team is participating in this big event. And as we are very hopeful, there's a tough conditions. There's no easy way for us, but we are trying our best and pave the path for the upcoming youth and people, that we are going to achieve our goals. But in the small steps, take small steps, and you can achieve the bigger goals.
Right. So, Asif Saab, since you've talked about the wheelchair tennis and you're very passionate about it, and we've seen that you have so many feathers in your cap. So, can you elaborate why particularly tennis you were focusing on or interested in? Is there any particular story behind your very inspirational journey that you have taken from here to China and participating in the Asian Games?
That's a very good question. Actually, it gives me opportunity to tell me my story.
Sure, go ahead.
As a growing kid, when I had a disability, by the age of 8, you won't believe it, that I even couldn't run. Like I keep falling. Sports, when I was stopped playing sports in my school, so it gave me like a lot of strength, and then also not physical but mental strength, that I overcome challenges. I was like the active person in my whole school. And then I tried, of course, cricket was my first love, as every Pakistani and
yes.
cricket lover. So I started playing cricket in school, and then excelling. And then I came to know that there was in Islamabad there was a tennis club, and then I used to go to see the players, imitating them. Come back, draw the lines on the ground, and try to imitate and copy those players. And somehow I got into tennis, and journey started from there. I started coaching, slowly and gradually excelled. I did my courses from UK, coaching courses, and then I got a chance to go to UK, and then on 2017 I stopped playing wheelchair tennis, and from there I won several, like 18 national tournaments. So far, I won Play Your Way at Wimbledon, which is like I'm a first Pakistani at the Wimbledon tennis course, where I won that national championship. And also I won 3 international tournaments for Pakistan so far, which is great achievement. But I want to showcase and try to remove that taboo, that wheelchair tennis or wheelchair sports are like very, very, very it's not growing, but it's in all over the world. Wheelchair tennis is excelling and growing rapidly. So we can give them our youngsters who are like disabled or have got some form of disability, but we can give them opportunity to play wheelchair tennis. and they can excel and they can promote, and then they can wave Pakistani flag at international arena.
Asif Saab, while I was talking to you and hearing you, listening to you, seems you're not just physically strong, but you're also mentally very strong. Now, coming from you, it would matter a lot by the others, because obviously there comes a time in the lives of people when people, even mentally strong people, they get that mental block. They see that every ray of hope is fading away. So did that ever happen to you? Did you ever reach that stage that, okay, this is it for me, I can't go any further? And if so, how did you overcome that? Because many people these days are actually facing that kind of anxiety, depression sort of things. So being a mentally strong person, what would you suggest that people should do when they reach a certain stage like that?
I just quickly mentioned that, when there was my lowest point in life, when I had a disability from young age and I overcame those challenges, I never felt that I have got some form of disability, because mentally I feel that, I can do anything which non-disabled people can do. So that was giving me a lot of strength. But in 2014, I had an accident and I fell, and which affected my, the hip, my lower back, and my left leg. And that was the lowest point where I felt that, because I was very active all my life, from there, I was feeling that I cannot, and there was so many negative thoughts coming in my mind that, oh, my life is over. But, when I stopped playing wheelchair tennis, and when the Pakistan name and the flag in front of my name came, it gave me a second life and second life in, so and hope that I can still have something in me that I can do. So from my message is, even you're at the lowest point, there will be, this time will pass. Be strong. Try to be a warrior. Try to fight within yourself, and with those hurdles, you will overcome. Believe me, you will overcome those challenges and those hurdles. Just be strong, stay positive, and think positive. Inshallah, Allah's rahmat, you will be successful.
That's a wonderful message, and thank you so much for putting this beautiful message out there, and especially the message of tawakkul that you give in Allah, and making sure that the sabr that the Allah gives. And obviously sabr is not a very easy thing to absorb, because it can make a person or break a person, but Allah certainly says in the Quran that Allah is with those who are patient. Thank you so much, Asif Abbasi Saab, for sharing your wonderful story, and we wish you best of luck.
Absolutely.
And may you win a lot of gold medals, because you are representing our country, Pakistan, and we need some good gold medals from the Asian Games, and that also from the World Cup too, right?
Oh yes, we're really hoping for that.
Yes.
And well, since we're talking about China, about the Asian Games, and also we're talking about the visit of Prime Minister,
yes.
China has a lot going on right now, and being such a big country and economically strong and stable country, I think China is making a lot of initiatives, doing a lot for the investors, that they can perhaps invest in the countries that there is a potential in, for example, Pakistan.
Right.
Since we were talking about the CPEC, as it's going to be, we have been listening to the term game changer since the last, ever since CPEC started, basically.
Yes.
And considering the geopolitical and geostrategic location of Pakistan, I think it's going to be a game changer for Pakistan, because obviously Pakistan alone in this era, without collaboration, cannot do much. Any country for that matter. All the countries need that connectivity, need that collaboration, be it people-to-people contact, business-to-business contact. It is need of the hour these days, and that's exactly what's happening in the CPEC project, because not only are we investing, getting investments in the infrastructure projects. By the way, in the infrastructure projects, we've seen loads and loads of development. If you've had a chance to visit Pakistan overall and seen the road network of Pakistan, there is a huge improvement overall.
Yes.
We've seen highways, we've seen motorways throughout Pakistan connecting different cities, connecting towns and cities to cities, and it's amazing. And even if you go up north, which you did in the recent
Yes.
past, you
Yes.
must have seen.
Of course, I've seen, and Chinese leadership has labeled Belt and Road Initiative as 21st century project of the century, and Prime Minister Anwarul Haq Kakar is a maiden trip to the China, and BRF, the Belt and Road Forum, will discuss about sustainable development, about the Belt and Road Cooperation, about the mineral development, industrial cooperation, green and low carbon development, digital economic cooperation. And I would like to particularly focus, Fahim, on the green and low carbon development, because we've seen some very amazing initiatives coming out from the China. So, for example, Beijing was once used to be a very polluted, darker city with the darker skies and the smog around. But the way China has turned the table around, and the way China is has projected itself as someone which is very responsible when it comes to curbing the greenhouse gases emissions, and it is taking the initiatives in this regard. That's very inspiring story, and I think countries like Pakistan, where in Lahore the smog is declared as the 5th season officially, because there's so much polluted skies and so much polluted air. We can learn from the Chinese model a lot, how they have overturned the Beijing, how they have overturned the tables and made sure that their citizens are not going to experience that darker
You're quite
sky.
right, Hajra,
Yes.
because I know someone who recently went to China, and she told us that they manufacture their own electric cars, and
Yes.
you will hardly see the fuel cars over there, because
Oh,
most of the people, majority of the people, they do their businesses on electric cars, which is something so inspiring for a country like Pakistan. Although we do not contribute much in the emissions, but still, I mean, even the world powers which contribute a lot in the global emissions have a lot to learn from China, not just us. Don't you think so?
That's very true, obviously, and I think one of the biggest success story of 20th century in this globalized world is how China has been able to do the poverty reduction, and it has overturned the life of millions of people who were living below the poverty line and thrusted them above that poverty line, and made sure that they have been given a good sustainable living lifestyle, I would like to characterize as such. And the way the development has been going on in the Beijing with the bullet trains, with the infrastructure development, I think China just wants to revive itself and its principles of non-interference in other countries. This is a very positive development, I would say, in this regard. And obviously with such a huge massive initiatives like Belt and Road initiatives, and it's the flagship project of the CPEC, we do see that there are some challenges, and there are people who would actually like to not make it very successful. But obviously we will make sure that we will thwart such designs, we will frustrate such very imperious designs which are against our development and progress.
Of course.
And with that, on this note, we would like to wrap up this special transmission and say goodbye to all our viewers. So remember us and our entire team in your prayers, because prayers is what we need the most. And with that, we will say Allah Hafiz, goodbye, and until next time, it's a good morning.